It was a hot afternoon. The sun was burning down on the busy streets. People were rushing in and out of the bank. Horns were loud, sweat was everywhere, and everyone was in a hurry. Among the crowd, a woman slowly walked toward the bank gate. She wore an old cotton kurta, worn-out slippers, and held a small leather purse. Her hair was tied back in a simple bun. She looked like a middle-aged school teacher, or maybe a small-town homemaker. The security guard looked at her from head to toe. He stepped in front of her. "Where are you going, madam?" he asked, not in a polite way. She smiled gently and said, "I need to withdraw some money." The guard raised his eyebrow. "Withdraw? You need to go inside? This is not a government ration shop. This is a private bank." A few people nearby heard him and laughed, but she didn't say anything. She just looked at him, calm, peaceful, and said again, "I have an account here." The guard moved aside, a little irritated. Okay, go." She walked in quietly. Inside the bank, things were even worse. The air conditioner was working, but the atmosphere was cold in a different way. Everyone was busy. No one looked up. The moment she entered, people stared at her. Why is she here? Looks like someone from the village came to ask for help. She doesn't belong in this place. These were the thoughts in people's eyes, though no one said anything out loud. She stood in the queue patiently. When her turn finally came, she walked up to the manager's desk. The manager looked up and frowned. "Yes? What do you need?" "I need to withdraw some money," she said softly. He looked annoyed. "Madam, go to the counter. This desk is for high-value clients." She took a small slip of paper from her purse and placed it on his table. "This is the check. It's for a large amount. I was told only the branch manager can handle it." The manager looked at the check and froze. The amount written was R 25 lakhs. He looked up sharply, then back at the check, then back at her. His face changed from arrogance to disbelief. "Where did you get this check?" "It's mine," she said. He laughed. People nearby also started looking. Whispers began. Some giggled. "Madam," the manager said loudly, "do you know how banks work? This is not a joke. You can't just walk in and ask for 25 lakhs. She didn't respond. He stood up now, trying to show authority. "Listen, we are busy with real clients. You can't waste our time. Please step aside." By now, everyone was watching. Someone in the crowd said, "She's probably lying." Another said, "She must have found the check somewhere." The woman still didn't speak. She simply picked up the check, placed it back in her purse, and turned to leave. But just before walking out, she stopped. She turned to the manager and said softly, "You didn't even check my name." He rolled his eyes. "Why would I?" She gave a small smile. "No problem," she said. "You'll know soon enough." And then she walked out. Same slow steps, same calm eyes. Outside the bank, she stood for a moment near the parking area. She pulled out her phone and made a call. Man's voice answered. She said, "Tell the board to begin the process. I visited the branch. The culture is broken. Time for a change." The voice replied, "Understood, ma'am." She hung up, then walked away, disappearing into the crowd. Meanwhile, back inside the bank, the manager was still laughing with his team. "Who comes to withdraw our 25 lakhs in slippers and a 10-rupee purse?" But just then, a peon ran in with a message. "Sir, urgent call from corporate head office. Line 1. The manager picked it up casually. "Hello? Is this branch manager Mr. Sharma?" a serious voice asked. "Yes, speaking. This is from the board of directors. You had a visitor today? A lady came to withdraw ours at 25 lakhs. Simple clothes, brown purse?" His face turned white. Yes. The voice said, "That woman is Meera Verma, CEO of MV Group, our biggest investor. She owns 51% of this bank's private funding." The manager's mouth fell open. "You just insulted the person who signs your salary." Click. The call ended. The bank opened at 10 a.m., just like any other day. Mr. Sharma, the branch manager, walked in wearing his expensive shirt, shiny shoes, and sunglasses. He felt proud, confident, like he owned the place. But today, something was different. The moment he entered, the receptionist looked nervous. "Sir, there's an inspection team waiting in your cabin." He paused. "Inspection? Who called?" "Them? They said it's from head office," she whispered. "And it's urgent." Sharma fixed his tie and walked toward his office, confused but pretending to stay calm. Inside the cabin, 4 officers were sitting in his office, holding files and laptops. One of them stood up. "Good morning, Mr. Sharma," he said coldly. "We're here to review your branch operations. Orders from the board." Sharma forced a fake smile. "Of course. Please go ahead." But inside, he was sweating. This kind of inspection never happened suddenly, unless something serious had gone wrong. Whispers in the staff room. In the other corner of the bank, staff members were whispering to each other. "Why is head office here? Is it because of that woman yesterday?" She looked simple, but the way she spoke. Nobody was sure, but everyone remembered her calm voice. Her last words still echoed in their ears. "You didn't even check my name. You'll know soon enough." The first shock, the officers started checking CCTV footage. They watched everything, especially what happened at the manager's desk the day before. They saw how Mr. Sharma mocked the woman, how the staff laughed, how nobody even checked her ID. They watched him throw away the check without a proper look, and then they saw her walk away silently. The lead officer looked at Sharma and said, "You made a mistake. A big one." Sharma gulped. Who was she?" The officer gave a small smile. "You really don't know?" He opened a file and placed it on the table. It had a photo. Sharma looked at it and froze. It was her. The woman in the old kurta. The one he insulted. Her name was written clearly. Meera Verma, CEO, MV Group of Companies. Under it, investor. 51% stakeholder in bank trust Pavartlenida Sharma felt the ground shake under his feet. Panic mode. He stood up suddenly. "Sir, I didn't know." She looked so ordinary. The officer raised his hand to stop him. "And that's exactly your problem," he continued. "You judged her based on her clothes, not her account, not her name, not her history. You laughed at the person who pays. Your bonus." Sharma couldn't breathe. His voice was low now. I'm sorry," but it was too late. Meanwhile, somewhere in a high-rise building, Meera sat in a quiet office. She sipped her tea and looked out the window. A young assistant entered. "Ma'am, inspection is going well. They've reviewed the footage. Action will be taken." Meera nodded gently. "I don't want revenge," she said. "I just want respect to return to that bank. For everyone." Back at the bank, the officer placed a red stamp on a file and said, "From today, you're under review. Head office will decide if you remain branch manager after this." Sharma sat down slowly, his voice shaking. "I didn't know she was important." The officer looked at him coldly. "She was a customer. That's all the importance you needed." End scene. Cliffhanger as. The inspection team walked out. Everyone in the bank stared. Sharma sat alone in his cabin, holding his head. Then suddenly, his phone buzzed. A message. From board secretary. "CEO Meera Verma will visit your branch. In person tomorrow morning." His hands dropped the phone. His mouth was dry. She was coming back. This time, not as a customer, but as the real boss. The sun had just risen over the city. While the bank manager was spending a sleepless night in fear, in another part of the city, Meera Verma was quietly getting ready for the day. She wore the same kind of simple clothes. No makeup, no gold, just a calm smile and strong eyes. But behind that soft face was a story no one at the bank knew, a story of pain, power, and patience. Flashback, 20 years ago. Mira was born in a small village. Her father was a school teacher. Her mother stitched clothes to earn a little extra money. They were not rich, but they were honest, kind people. From a young age, Mira learned the value of hard work. She studied under a lantern when there was no electricity. She shared one pair of shoes with her younger sister. And every evening, she helped her mother wash dishes before sitting to read. But even then, Mira had a dream. One day, she used to whisper to herself, I will own something of my own, something big. Struggles of youth. She got a scholarship to a good college in the city. She was the first girl from her village to do so. But life in the city wasn't easy. People made fun of her accent. She wore the same clothes every week. Landlords refused to rent her a room. Sometimes she slept hungry, just to save money for bus fare. But she never gave up. She studied harder, worked part-time jobs, in libraries, cafes, even cleaned offices at night. And finally, after years of struggle, she graduated with top marks in business studies. The first step with only $10,000 in her account, Mira started a small business. From her rented rooms of making eco-friendly paper bags, people laughed at her. Who makes bags and dreams of becoming a businesswoman? But she kept going. She walked door to door, offering samples. Some rejected her. Some closed the door in her face. But a few gave her a chance, and that was enough. Building an empire, years passed. Her paper bag business grew. She reinvested every rupee she earned. From paper bags, she moved into packaging, then into logistics, then into full-scale product distribution. Soon she had clients from across India. She hired people who were once rejected. Old women, widows, young boys who failed school. She trained them, gave them jobs, gave them respect. And step by step, she built MV Group of companies, now one of the biggest private firms in the region, the Investment One DA. The bank was silent. Every staff member stood frozen as Mira Verma entered the branch. She didn't come with bodyguards, no cameras, no crowd. But her presence was louder than anything. The same woman who was laughed at just 2 days ago was now walking through the same hall, not as a customer but as the CEO, and the majority stakeholder of the entire bank. The manager, Mr. Sharma, stood at the door of his cabin. His hands were shaking. Sweat rolled down his neck. "Good morning, ma'am," he said with a nervous smile, trying to hide his fear. Mira paused. She looked at him calmly. "Do you recognize me now?" He nodded quickly. "Yes, yes, of course. Please come inside." Inside the manager's cabin, Mira sat on the chair across from him. No hurry, no anger. Mr. Sharma stood unsure what to do. "Sit," she said. He sat down immediately, like a schoolboy caught cheating in class. There was silence for a few seconds. Then, Mira placed her purse on the table and said, "Tell me, Mr. Sharma, why didn't you ask for my name the first time I came here?" He looked down. "Ma'am, I thought you thought I was poor, that I didn't belong in this bank," she completed his sentence. He stayed quiet. She continued, "I didn't come here that day to test anyone. I came to withdraw money, just like any normal person. But you judged me by my clothes, by my face. You made fun of me, laughed at me, in front of your entire staff." Outside the cabin, the staff members were all gathered near the glass door. No one dared to speak. Some looked down in shame. Others peeked at her, curious and scared. The security guard who insulted her on day one now stood with his hands behind his back, eyes lowered. He had no idea she was the boss of the boss. "The conversation continues," Mr. Sharma finally spoke. "I'm sorry, ma'am. It was a mistake. A big one. I should have treated you better." She didn't react. just listened. Then she slowly pulled out a document from her purse. "This is a report from head office," she said. "It lists customer complaints from this branch over the past year." He looked confused. "You've insulted others too, Sharma, not just me. Poor farmers, old pensioners, women in simple clothes, people who didn't speak English well." He looked shocked. "I didn't know." She raised her hand. "That's the problem. You never cared to know. You thought people who look rich deserve better treatment, but money isn't always worn. Sometimes it's earned, quietly." The big reveal, she stood up and walked to the window. "You know," she said, looking out, "when I was young, a bank manager once threw my father out of a bank because he came in slippers. That day, I decided I would build a business so big that no one would ever insult my family again." She turned and looked him in the eye. "And I did it." He lowered his head. "Mira's decision." "I'm not here to fire you," she said. He looked up, surprised. "But I want change," she continued. "From today, customer behavior will be watched. Respect will be given to everyone, rich or poor. You will stay here, but under strict supervision from head office. One more complaint, and you're done." He nodded quickly, grateful. "Thank you, ma'am. I promise. I'll change." She picked up her purse and walked to the door. Just before leaving, she stopped. "Also," she said, "next time someone comes in simple clothes," she smiled, "ask their name first." 2 weeks had passed since Mira Verma visited the branch. But nothing was the same anymore. The staff, once careless and arrogant, had now become alert and respectful. Even the small things had changed. Greetings at the door, polite tone, and most importantly, how they looked at people. It was no longer about clothes or appearance. It was about character. And all of this change came from one new order. A single powerful message from Mira. Everyone must be treated with respect, no matter how they look, speak, or dress. This became known inside the bank as the new rule. A notice on the wall on the very next Monday, a large notice was placed right at the entrance of the bank. It read, "Dear customers, you are important. You are welcome here, whether in slippers or suits. We are here to serve you with respect. Always." By order of CEO MV Group, people stared at it in surprise. Some smiled, some even teared up. A young woman in a simple sari whispered to her husband, "Someone powerful must have faced what we go through every day. Only then would this message come." And she was right. Inside the branch manager, Mr. Sharma had changed his behavior completely. He greeted customers with a smile. He stood up when the elderly entered. He no longer asked about salary slips. First. Now he asked, "How can I help you today?" But deep down, he still carried a fear of losing his job. He knew Mira was watching. Her team now reviewed customer feedback every week. He had been given a second chance. And he didn't want to lose it. Meanwhile, in Mira's office, Mira sat across a round table with her team. "We've made a start," she said calmly. "But one branch isn't enough." Her assistant nodded. "We're planning to visit 3 more branches next month. We'll train the staff. Make this rule company-wide." Mira sipped her tea and said, "Respect should not be rare. It should be normal." She remembered her own past, standing in long lines being judged, feeling invisible. Not anymore. Not on her watch. A new visitor at the bank one morning, a poor-looking man, walked into the branch. His clothes were dusty, his shoes were torn. Some customers nearby looked at him with hesitation, but the bank staff didn't. The receptionist stood up and greeted him with a smile. "Good morning, sir. Please have a seat." The man seemed surprised. I just came to open a savings account," he said softly. "No problem, sir. We'll help you right away." The manager himself came forward. Please allow me, he said, guiding the man gently to his desk. A hidden truth. While filling the form, the man said something that shocked the entire staff. My name is Ramesh Chand. I work in a factory nearby. But my younger son just started working for MV Group. He said your bank changed. After a lady visited here, everyone paused for a second. The manager smiled awkwardly. Well, that lady is our CEO, and yes, she taught us a big lesson. Ramesh nodded. She's a blessing. My son told me she gives jobs to those who've been rejected by others. He wiped a tear from his eye. She gives people hope. A letter arrives. Later that evening, the branch received an official letter. It was sealed with the MV Group logo. Mr. Sharma opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a note to branch manager. Bank Trust Pit Limited. Subject, excellent improvement. Noted your efforts over the last 2 weeks have been appreciated. Customer satisfaction has increased and feedback has been positive. You are no longer under review. However, continue to follow the values of fairness and respect. Remember, the real power of a bank lies in how it treats its people. CEO Office. MV Group Sharma folded the letter with a smile, half in relief, half in shame. He had escaped punishment. But more than that, he had learned something valuable. End scene. Narration fade out. The real test of character isn't how you treat the rich, but how you treat the ordinary. One woman didn't just teach this lesson, she lived it. Although the bank branch had changed its behavior, Meera Verma knew that real transformation meant more than one building, one manager, or one rule. The seed was planted, yes, but the roots had to spread across the entire system. Respect shouldn't depend on luck. It should be policy. As she looked out of her office window, watching the city move in fast motion, Meera whispered to herself, "This is just the beginning." She picked up her phone and called her assistant. "Schedule a meeting with the board," she said. "It's time we set new standards." The assistant paused. "For the bank?" "No," Meera replied. "For every business under MV Group." The silence on the other side spoke of surprise. In the following days, Meera's leadership team came together in a private conference room. On the table lay files from different companies under her business empire: logistics, packaging, retail, customer care, even factory supply chains. She looked around the room and began to speak. "Tell me honestly," she asked her top managers, "how are we treating the people who make us successful?" One of them cleared his throat. "We follow all standard procedures." Meera nodded slowly. "I didn't ask about procedures. I asked about people." A long pause followed. She stood up and walked to the board, then wrote 4 words in bold letters: dignity, fairness, patience, voice. These will be our 4 pillars, not just for business, but for humanity. And so a new internal campaign began: Work with Heart. Soon, every branch, factory, and office under MV Group received a small brown envelope. Inside was a letter, written not in complicated legal terms, but in warm, simple English. "Dear team, no matter your role, worker, driver, cleaner, or manager, your dignity matters. If you feel unheard or mistreated, we are listening. If you feel unseen, we see you now. Together, we build this company. Together, we grow." Meera Verma, CEO. The impact was immediate. In one warehouse, a young helper cried quietly after reading it. He had never received a personal letter from a CEO before, let alone one that said, "Thank you." In another office, a janitor who had been invisible for years was invited to a team lunch for the first time. Even customers began to notice the difference. Receptionists smiled more. Phone agents spoke with kindness. And all of it started with one woman in a simple kurta who had once been insulted just for looking poor. While the company grew stronger, Mira decided it was time to step into the public light, not to show power, but to share the story, so others could learn. She accepted an invitation to speak at a major business summit as she walked on stage wearing her usual cotton suit. Months had passed. The city had changed. The company had changed. Even the bank that once humiliated a woman in public had now become known as the kindness branch. But the biggest change was not in buildings or systems. It was in people. And it had all started with one woman in simple clothes who refused to shout, fight, or take revenge, and instead chose to teach with dignity. Her name was now known in boardrooms, classrooms, and street corners. But Mira Verma never let the praise get to her head. She still carried her own lunch, still wore the same kind of clothes, still greeted every staff member by name, because she had not forgotten where she came from. A letter from. The past one morning, Mira was going through some old files when she found a dusty envelope. It had her father's handwriting on it. She gently opened it. Inside was a folded paper. Beta, if the world ever laughs at you because of your clothes or your words, don't argue. Don't beg. Just become so powerful that one day people respect you without needing to know your name. But never forget, real power is quiet. Papa. Tears filled her eyes. Her father had died before he could see who she became, but somehow he had always known. An unexpected guest. That same day, Mira received a visitor at her head office. An old man stood at the reception, holding a worn-out bag. "Can I meet Ms. Mira Verma?" he asked politely. The receptionist asked, "Do you have an appointment?" He shook his head. "I don't, but I think she'll remember me." She hesitated, but made the call. "Ma'am, there's an elderly gentleman here. He says you might remember him." Mira's voice came through calmly. "Let him in." The old man walked in slowly. He looked around the large, modern office. Then his eyes met Mira's. He froze. You're that woman from the bank?" She stood and walked forward. "Yes, and you're the security guard who pushed me that day, remember?" He looked down in shame. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know who you were. I was just doing my job badly." She smiled gently. "I know. That day changed a lot for both of us." He nodded. "I came today to say thank you. After what happened, I left that job. I couldn't live with the guilt, but your story taught me something. I now work at a school gate, and I welcome every child with a smile." She was quiet for a moment. Then she walked over to her desk, opened a drawer, and pulled out an envelope. "This is a small gift from MV Group," she said, "for your honesty and for changing yourself." His hands trembled as he took it. "May I ask what's inside?" he said softly. She smiled. "A letter, just like the one my father once gave me. It says, 'Your past mistake doesn't define your future. Your courage does.'" A full circle, as. He left. Mira looked out the window. The city was still noisy, fast, and full of people trying to prove their worth. But she had proven hers, not with money or power, but with kindness, patience, and strength, and she had inspired thousands to do the same. Narration fade out. She entered a bank one day, poor, quiet, and humiliated. She returned, powerful, kind, and unforgettable. Not to punish, but to remind the world that respect is a right, not a reward.